Hi guys, welcome back to yet another fun DIY video here aboard good old Athena. In case you're new to my channel, this lovely looking hunk of fiberglass is Athena. She's a 1987 Warrior 38 that I'm in the middle of refitting. I'm about 2 years into a somewhat extensive refit, and if you like DIY boat videos, you should definitely check out some more of the videos in the Project Athena playlist. I'll include a link for that down in the description. What I'll be working on this weekend, I actually started working on last winter, and that's the engine compartment. First I removed the engine, then the sail drive, and then I found out I had to cut up the old diesel tank to get it out of there. And as you can see, the entire engine compartment was looking a little bit crusty, in particular the old sound insulation. A few days ago I was able to apply the last coat of top coat. And this is what it looks like now. Not too shabby if I do say so myself. Over the weekend I hope I'll be able to get the diesel tank moved in there, get some sound insulation put up, and figure out what to do about lighting. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Speaking of my super spiffy new diesel tank, this is it. 316L stainless, custom designed, built like a tank. This thing is gonna last forever. The first step this weekend is going to be to get this installed, but I'm still waiting on some rubber that I'm going to place between the tank and the bottom supports. Also, the sound insulation I've ordered won't show up until tomorrow, so I'll have to cool my jets just a tiny little bit. Thankfully, there are some other jobs I can take care of, to be more precise, 2 hopefully very quick jobs. But first, something completely different. It's something a lot of you guys have asked for over the years. Ava and I have been hard at work, and we're finally ready to launch our very own little Sail Life webshop, and that of course includes some pretty dang spiffy t-shirts. But wait, there's more. For a limited time only, until November 23rd, there is a 10% discount code down in the description. Keep in mind, it's only valid until November 23rd. Because we don't know how many of you guys want a t-shirt, we've decided to do this as a pre-order, meaning on November 23rd, we'll place an order with the screen printing place we're working with, and they'll then get busy screen printing, I guess. Now that should still give us plenty of time to get the t-shirts to everybody in the US before Christmas, but international orders might be cutting it a little close. All orders will ship from the US, and that means if you place an order from, for instance, Europe, you might get hit by some kind of tax or import fee when the package arrives over here. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It's just a friendly little warning. Last but certainly not least, there is a super secret 20% discount code for patrons. More about that on patreon.com/saillife. And that's it. I hope you guys like the t-shirts. If you guys recall, just before leaving to spend some time with my girlfriend Ava, I yet again managed to mess up an order of stainless fasteners, and that in turn caused me to not be able to mount some hardware. Hopefully this should remedy that. The stuff that's up here is the stuff I actually need, and then I've just added these 2 boxes here with lots of fasteners in them as a little bit of an added insurance. This is what I so desperately would like to install. This is the housing for the top rudder bushing. The reason I want to install this now is because there's a giant hole out in the cockpit, and leaks are no fun. Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and call that a big success. And this is the aforementioned hole. This is solid laminate. There's no core here, so I'm not gonna have to drill and fill these holes because there's no core here to protect. But what I wanna do is just to put a little bevel on each of the holes. What this will do is it'll allow the butyl tape to form a little gasket around each of the fasteners. It's a pretty well-known little trick, and I'll include a link for a website that shows some pretty good examples of this. On the website I'll include a link for, you'll also be able to read about all of the other virtues of butyl tape, and that website is actually where I purchased this stuff from. I've added butyl tape all the way around the housing, as well as a little bit extra on each of the fasteners, and all of this is going to get smushed into one big clump of butyl tape. It is starting to rain, so I'll have to do this quick, but this is not rocket science. All you have to make sure is that you don't let the fasteners spin free, because that will kind of mess up the butyl tape. But other than that, it's just a matter of popping this in and tightening it down. And there we go, all tightened up. Because it's pretty cold, it's going to take a while for the butyl tape to fully conform, so over the next week or so I'm just going to continue tightening this a little bit every day. It's Friday afternoon, the weekend is finally here, and I've got all the stuff I ordered, so let's head up and get busy. This ginormous box should be the soundproofing I've ordered, and this somewhat squishy rolly thingy should be the rubber. Holy, that is a lot of rubber. This is more rubber than I will probably need in my lifetime. I only need 2 pieces around this size for the diesel tank in the engine compartment, but I wanted nitrile rubber, and this was the only piece that was large enough that I could find. Nitrile is awesome because it's very resistant to diesel, which is probably going to be a little bit off in the engine compartment. And that's also why the gaskets for the diesel tank are also made out of nitrile. This is one of 2 gaskets on the diesel tank, and this is laser cut for extra super spiffy precision. I'm not going to do that with the supports underneath the diesel tank. Now, the service life for nitrile rubber, I've seen that quoted online to being somewhere between 5 to 10 years. I've had people that are a lot smarter than I am tell me that in an application like the rubber pads underneath the tank, the nitrile rubber is going to last a lot longer than 5 to 10 years, so fingers crossed. Rubber pads thusly in place, I'm now almost ready to move the diesel tank in here. Before I move the tank into the engine compartment, I might as well go ahead and install the pickup tubes and the fittings I've got. I don't have all the fittings, but I do have some of them. Around 5 years ago, someone recommended I use Loctite 577 aboard Obelix when adding a fitting to the tank, and that worked out really well, so I'm going to use this stuff again here aboard Athena. This stuff is super easy to apply, and it not only seals the threads, it also locks the fittings in place, so it is definitely worth picking up. I had 4 of these pickup tubes made. I only really need 3 of them, but I might as well go ahead and install all 4. I love these things, by the way. It kind of makes this feel like some kind of reactor, which is very cool. I was sure I had a big box of fittings somewhere, but all I could find are these. So let's go ahead and install the inlet for the backfill and just save the rest for when I've got all the fittings ready. Here's something I've been very much looking forward to installing on the new diesel tank. It is the focus tube for my ultrasonic tank level doodad, and we will have to cut this down a little bit. By ultrasonic tank level doodad, I mean this thing. It's a tank level monitor. It's the TLM 100. This thing tells me how much fuel is left in the tank without actually touching the fuel. And this is what the doohickey looks like. This little pug gets bolted on top of the tank, and then this provides information on the NMEA 2000 network about how much fuel is left in the tank. And that's awesome because the data that's going to be available on my NMEA 2000 network, I'll also have access to on my smartphone or, well, anywhere else where I want it. These are the instructions for installing the focus tube. And it turns out if the bottom of your tank is not flat or parallel to the top, there is a little focus tube cap you're supposed to install. Now that is done with this epoxy. There is no mention of temperature anywhere on this, but it is very cold over here right now, so I'd better bring this back with me to Obelix and glue everything up there. But we can go ahead and trim the tube. Yep, only slightly too long. The focus tube protrudes 43 centimeters into the tank. I need about an inch worth of clearance at the bottom, so let's round that off and say I cut the tube at 40 centimeters. This does not need to be pretty. Deburred and lightly scuffed up, this should be ready for the cap. Perfect. Like I said, I'm going to bring this back with me to Obelix. I'm going to allow this to heat up and then I'm going to apply the epoxy, but we should be ready to mount this tomorrow morning. Fast forward, it is Saturday morning. The focus tube is now ready to be installed. That is a very tight fit, but it fits. This is actually some kind of SAE 5-bolt standard. The annoying thing about it is that stuff only fits on there one way, so you kind of have to figure out which way that is. Like that. Oh no! I'm not going to lie, I am somewhat upset with myself right now. It seemed when I spec'd the tank, I forgot to take into account the thickness of the flange of the focus tube, and that means these threaded rods here are not long enough. My original plan here was to secure this with 5 bolts, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. For helvede satan, there was... Well, enough profanity and hitting myself. Let's figure out what the options are here. I guess I could get some extensions welded onto the threaded rods, but I'd have to bring the tank to someone that can do that for me, and I would like to get this thing installed this weekend. I could remove the focus tube. That would lower the sensor enough that I could get the bolts on there, but I need the focus tube because the sensor is this close to the edge of the tank. While scratching my noggin, I looked at the port lights. More specifically, I looked at the barrel nuts on the port lights. I think that might be a good solution. This is kind of like winning the lottery. I've actually got some barrel bolts here. I ordered these with all of the other stainless fasteners because I need some replacement barrel bolts for the Dodger. There's some badly corroded ones there. And what's even more awesome is the fact that the threaded rods on the diesel tank are M5s. Okay, it might not be like winning the lottery exactly because I've only got 4 of these and I need 5, but let's go ahead and see if I can use these. They are about 6 millimeters thick and the holes in the sensor are 5.5 millimeters. Well, that should be easy to fix. That looks perfect to me, although I might have to trim these a little bit so that the barrel nut doesn't dig into the gasket. Well, that certainly doesn't look pristine anymore, but that's okay. Yep, that should work. Okay, we're not quite there yet. I think I might have to take a little bit off of the threaded rods. Yep, I think this is a good test. Now I just need to repeat that process for the rest of the threaded rods and the barrel bolts. I've just used a little nut here to check the threads, and it looks like I haven't messed up any of this when I shortened them. So let's go ahead and get the tank level monitor installed. Like I mentioned, I only have 4 of these barrel bolts and I really need 5. So I'm going to leave this one with that one, and that should be the easiest one to get to when the tank is installed. Okay, that seems very secure. I'm sure some of you are wondering what's up with these doodads, and I added those to the design to have something to zip tie stuff to. That was a lot of heavy lifting, but the tank is finally in place. Of course, it's not secured yet. It's going to get bolted to the sides of the engine compartment with some spacers in here. There's one of these on each side, and there are two like them in the aft end of the tank. As you can see, with a spacer on each side and a little piece of my newly acquired nitrile rubber, that is a nice snug fit. I've glued the two spacers using some thickened epoxy. Now this will need to cure until tomorrow, but then I can go ahead and get these sanded and primed. Even without the spacers in place, we can still forge ahead tomorrow and put up the sound insulation. And there's one last thing I want to take care of today, and that's to put up these trim pieces. The bottom of the plywood here in the engine compartment was soaked with diesel and engine oil, and I couldn't get paint to stick to it. So rather than tearing everything out and rebuilding everything, I just decided to make these little trim pieces. An added bonus to these trim pieces is the fact that they'll cover up these big gaping holes from old stuff. Yep, another step towards spiffiness. Don't worry about the gaps here. Those won't be visible when the sound insulation is installed. Good morning, guys. I've got the two spacers here. They're nicely cured, so let's set up and get these sanded and primed. These are definitely not perfect, not yet at least. The surfaces are very uneven, but that should be relatively easy to take care of. This should be a fun blast from the past. This thing hasn't seen any action since I used it to sand parts of the deck. I can't find any of the attachments that came with this thing, so we'll just have to use it on the table. It's not at 90 degrees to the table, but I can just block it up using some of my new nitrile rubber. I'm starting to think maybe I should have purchased more of this rubber. Yep. Absolutely perfect. And there we go. Two perfectly smooth spacers. Doing DIY aboard a boat where the space is limited, you have to be kind of selective with the tools you have. And that's a video a lot of you guys have requested over the years. Sort of a rundown of the tools I've got here aboard Athena, which ones see the most use, and so on. And that is a video that's coming up sometime in December. Two pretty dang spiffy looking spacers. I should be able to get a second coat of primer on here tomorrow and then top coat during the week. So next weekend we should be ready to finally secure the diesel tank. Now let's get to the sound insulation. I picked up some aluminum tape for joining pieces of sound insulation and some of these discs for securing the sound insulation, because although this does have an adhesive backing, I have a little bit more faith in something like this. I've got two different thicknesses of this stuff. This one is, well, basically about ½ an inch, 12 millimeters, and the other one is over an inch, or I think it's 35 millimeters. Ah, what? So far, I'm not super impressed with this stuff. This corner down here is broken. There's no foam backing on it. And in between this and the next piece, there was some kind of adhesive that's now stuck on the outside part of the next piece here. I might have to get my hands on another sheet of the thin soundproofing, because I don't want that blotch of adhesive in the engine compartment. That's gonna look like crap. But let's forge ahead and see how much of this I can use. I got the thin stuff for the bottom of the cockpit sole because I remember there not being a lot of room on top of the engine, so I don't want to put the thick stuff up there. But let's go ahead and grab a measurement here. So that is 72 centimeters. God dang it, I've just noticed there are blobs of adhesive all over these things. This adhesive is still pretty tacky, and I'm afraid if I put these up, I'm going to end up having clumps of dog hair and other shite just all over the engine compartment, and that I do not want. The good news is all the thicker sheets look pristine, so it's just the thinner ones that are the problem. Now, sadly, I want to put the thinner ones up first, so yeah. I'm going to reach out to the webshop where I purchased those to see if they have some in stock of the thinner sheets without that adhesive sprinkled all over the shiny side of them. But sadly that means I'm gonna have to wait a few days for those to get here, which means no sound installation this weekend. Sorry guys, I was really hoping to get that into this video, but there's always next weekend. I guess there is always a silver lining, and in this case it's the fact that I now have most of Sunday to tidy up. I could do a quick run to the recycling center. I think we can all agree a bit of tidying up would not be a complete waste of time. Actually, there is one more thing I'd like to get figured out this weekend, and that's how many of these lights to put in the engine compartment. If I want to put more than 3 in there, I have to order some more. It looks like 1 on each side of the engine is going to be perfect. Now, I haven't fully decided yet, but I might split the engine compartment into 2. By that I mean I'm considering putting up a piece of plywood aft of the sail drive but before the diesel tank. That way the area around the engine is going to be a lot easier to soundproof. The only downside I can think of is the fact that I won't be able to see my super sexy diesel tank when opening the engine compartment. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. It's about 5 hours later. I'm at the end of my shooting time for this weekend. As you can see, the boat is starting to look, well, not super tidy, but it's a lot better than before. And what's important is that I can get to all of my tools, which is going to be a big plus for the next 3 weeks because I'm going to be shooting extra videos so that I have something to publish while I'm in LA over Christmas. This weekend didn't go quite according to plan, but that's okay, it happens sometimes, and at least I still got some work done, so that's good. Next weekend, hopefully I'll have got my hands on some sound insulation without yucky adhesive all over the outside of it. We can go ahead and put that up in the engine compartment. And also next weekend, I want to take a look at my engine. That is this bad boy here. It's a Volvo D240, and apparently the D2, amongst other Volvo engines, have developed a bit of reputation for having leaks from the heat exchanger. Apparently there's an O-ring in there that you need to make very, very sure is in good condition. So that is what we'll open up next weekend and take a look at. If any of you guys have experience with Volvo engines and there's something else I should check out before popping the engine back into the engine compartment, go ahead and leave a comment down below. One last little thing, tomorrow, that is Monday, I'm going to go over the list of patrons that are still owed stickers from the special offer patron sticker debacle of October. So if you're one of the patrons that added your address within the last week and a half, 2 weeks, well, then your stickers are soon going to be on their way. And that is going to be it for this video. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like. See you!